Hi everybody, it's David Fleming here from the Toronto Realty Group, and welcome back to this week's Pick 5. Now, what if I told you that there is a street in the city of Toronto where 5 homes are currently for sale? If you are looking at this through a negative viewpoint, you might think, oh no, that must be a terrible street, or the real estate market must be crashing. In fact, it's the complete opposite. This is an extremely long street. It is a very popular street. It is probably one of the most beautiful streets in the city of Toronto, not exaggerating. It is one of my favorite streets on which to drive anytime I am in the West End, and it is one of the only streets I know of that has the same name as the area in which it's located. What is that street? Well, you already know because you clicked on the video. It is the Kingsway within the Kingsway. Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I wanted to live on Fleming Crescent in Leaside. Fleming on Fleming. Well, this is the Kingsway in the Kingsway, and currently there are 5 homes for sale. Guys, let me take you on a very brief tour. This is what Google tells us, Google Maps tells us the Kingsway is, and I would primarily agree, except I would probably draw the line here. This is a hydro field, and on the other side of the hydro field, streets like this, hey, listen, they're nice, but they are not the prime Kingsway, which is walking distance to, of course, Landon Junior Kingsway School, which is a fantastic school, highly rated, and it's one of the many reasons why people buy homes in this area. Another reason why people buy homes in this area, look at the streetscape. This is the Kingsway. If I were to try to describe it to you, I would say it's a long street, it's got wide boulevards, huge setbacks from the street, it's very leafy, very tree-lined, very mature, the streets that is, and some of the most beautiful homes you're ever going to see. Look at this tree canopy. It's gorgeous. And look at the mature trees. Look at the houses. Look at the setbacks. This is a corner lot. It's kind of pie-shaped because you've got a street intersecting over here. But these stone houses, these 1920s, 1930s homes with this sort of English cottage style to them, absolutely positively beautiful. And again, I'm talking about the setbacks. Look how far this curb is from the house itself. It's such a unique streetscape. And as I go to my map here, that kind of looks like a banana, that's the shape of the Kingsway. But as I go to my map here, you can see there are no fewer than 5 homes for sale currently on the Kingsway. So I figured today, what the heck, let's just take a tour of these homes. They're all beautiful in their own right. This is 95 the Kingsway, and this is on a 50-foot lot. This house was built in 1933. It's the 5th time this particular house has been listed. Let's take a look here. You can see they listed for $4 million in August of last year. 3875, 3775, they leased it, back out for 3.6, now they're out for just shy of 3.5. So it says nothing about the house. I'm not saying it's overvalued or it's not a great house. I'm saying it's an absolutely gorgeous house. 5th listing, well, who knows why that is. Look at the front of this. Blue spruce, Japanese red maple. I mean, I'm hardly a botanist here, but I just think the streetscape in this area is second to none. Now you can see the original structure here. This looks like it's probably an addition. 1933, you're talking a 90-year-old house now, so who knows when that thing was done. But a classic center hall. I mentioned a 50-foot lot. I was in a house on Inglewood not too long ago, and it's exactly the same. Center hall. You have living on one side, you have dining on the other. If this is your dining area here, you walk through, maybe butler's pantry, through to the kitchen. There's something so amazing about center hall plans. When you have a 50-foot lot, whether you're in Lawrence Park, Rosedale, or here in the Kingsway, this is the layout you want. You want a classic center hall. Maybe for feng shui it could be good or bad, I don't know. But beautiful home, and I mean, they've reduced it in price by $1 million. So a house is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. I'm assuming that it was not worth what they were initially listed at, otherwise it would have sold. But in this area, as you'll see today, there are a lot of folks that have torn down houses. We're gonna look at a couple houses. One was built in 2011. 2 of the houses we're gonna see were built in 2018. This is the add-on that I mentioned. This would be in addition to the original home. And so what you're looking for in a new home, in addition to, let's say, the exterior, you want new brick and not stucco over brick that's 90 years old. You're looking at ceiling height, you're looking at all of the building materials and the features, whether physical or stylistic, that we wouldn't have had when these homes were originally built in the 1930s. Hard not to like this, but we'll see some houses that, believe it or not, are nicer. And yeah, you might say, well, this kitchen's a bit snug for a $4 million house or for a 50-foot lot, but this was added on to. This was an addition off of the original footprint. And when we look at the newer houses, you'll see that they've got a kitchen more in line with something that you would expect. Of course, we're climbing the ladder in price too. Somewhat dated bathrooms, but a huge house. And again, only a 2-story, actually no, thought there was a third story. If I'm not mistaken. I thought it said 2-story. I'm going to come back to that listing, so I don't know that I'm crazy. A little bit dated. Okay, yeah, I thought this was the extra half story. If I am not mistaken, that is definitely a half story. So we'll go back to the listing in a minute because we want to know if David's going crazy because I thought it said 2-story. And then you get to the backyard, right? Finished basement, but you know, kind of basic laminate, low ceiling height. Newer houses, you're going to have a much more functional basement because in 1933, hey, what the heck were these people doing in the basements? So beautiful backyard. When you've got a 50-foot lot and this garage, we're clearly not parking in here, right? I'm not sure if this is grass or AstroTurf, but you've got a little pool, a little cabana, bar, 50-foot lot. You also want to know, well, how deep is this? Because that's going to determine how much backyard space you've got. So original footprint, addition here, could not do anything other than speculate as to when this addition was put on, but not part of the original home. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, see this? It says 2-story. David's not crazy, 2-story. And then if we scroll down here, it says 3rd. Okay, not crazy. That was a mistake. So that's our first one. And then we'll go from here. And see, there's a little cluster here. Let's click the one behind it. Ooh, 107, the Kingsway. So here's where things get really interesting. I mentioned there's 5 houses for sale on the Kingsway, in the Kingsway. Next door neighbors are for sale as well. So 107, the Kingsway. Now we're 50 by 125. Sounds familiar. We're 2.5 story. The last one was, they just made the mistake in the listing. We're 5-bed, 5-bath. It's 3,499. See this PC here for price change? Let's scroll down. They were 3,648. 3,648 reduced to 3,499. Well, it's a decent price drop. Sure. Well, no. Yeah, it's actually, what, $69,000? Doesn't really move the needle. It's kind of being sarcastic there. I don't know if that was coming across, but I do think that if you're going to reduce the price, it needs to be more than the amount at which someone would negotiate. I think if you're listed for $4 million, you've been on the market 60 days, dropping it to 3.9 is really not going to move the needle. If someone was going to offer you that, they would have by now. So here's a very different look from the outside. You've got this covered front porch. And again, I wish I knew more about architecture, but I don't know the terms. It is a very pretty house. This one was built in 1936. So 3 years after the house we just looked at. And you can see, sure, very similar in some ways, but stylistically just a little bit different. Even right down to, I know this is kind of silly, but the first one had that rounded door. This one's got a square door. Like, I don't know. I'm watching 1923 with my wife, and I am so focused on the architecture. You're watching 1923, right? The show based on Yellowstone in 1888 or 1883 or whatever it was called. And I'm looking at all this beautiful wood trim, and I can't help but think to myself, in 2025, if we were in a Rosedale house, we'd be like, God, this beautiful original trim. Yeah, in 1923, it's original, as in they just put it there. I'm just obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the history, especially when it comes to homes. So let's go back into this one, and we'll see that they've modernized it a little bit. They still got the stucco ceiling. It is an original ceiling height. Now, this is a center hall plan as well. Not as much of that original character and charm as you might have expected, but it's got some mid-century modern furniture, a lot of kind of different styles here throughout. So I think for some people in this price point, like that kitchen, I don't know, just doesn't do it for me. So many different styles happening. In this price point, some people are looking first and foremost space. How many beds, how many baths, how many square footage. There are people that will look at curb appeal. Certainly, that's very important to me. And then, of course, the interior flow, style, finishes, of which I would say the first one, believe it or not, to me just had a little more of a homogeneous look and feel. So these two houses, both renovated, original, like this looks like something out of a magazine. It's absolutely beautiful. But then you've got other areas of the house that really just aren't all that updated. And to me, that was kind of downstairs. So it's a big house, 2.5 story, as I mentioned. Up top, you're gonna have usually the Jack and Jill bedroom, shared with one bathroom. You've got these sloped ceilings right here and here. It's very consistent with the look and feel from the outside. And there's your basement, original ceiling height. I had someone email me and say, David, you click way too fast through photos. And to that I said, you know what? Listen, 40 photos times 5 listings is 200 photos, and I'm trying not to do this in an hour. So $3.5 million. I preferred the first one. This one, as I mentioned, built in 1936. And this is the first time that it is listed. Let's take a look at the outside again, just one more time to say we did. Yeah, what do you think? I kind of preferred the first one. Let's go back. So that is the second house. Now we're gonna step it up a bit. Let's go to 4.99. Now what does it get you? Well, it gets you 105 the Kingsway, which is of course right next door to the house we just saw. That's awkward. You're both for sale, but there's a $1.5 million difference. I would say that this is a different buyer. You're looking at 3.5 million, you're not looking at 5. You can afford 5, you're certainly not going to buy for 3.5. I mean, some people do. Tara was telling me she's got a client, no, was it Tara? I honestly can't remember. Somebody I was talking to, it's been a long day, has a client that is approved for 3 million, but they don't want to go over 1.2. That's definitely an odd one. I haven't had that. So 105 the Kingsway. So this is on its first listing. This was built new from the ground up in 2018. I tried to find the original house by looking at Google Street View, and sometimes you can scroll back as far as 2004. Could not find it. So, oh wow, 50 pictures here today. So you're gonna tell me, David, you gotta stop going so quickly. But from the outside, it doesn't look like a classic Kingsway house. I'd say architecturally, you could say this is pleasing, or you could say it's exceptionally boring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's very square, it's very geometrically pleasing. But is it in line with kind of the original Kingsway homes? That you decide. Inside, very traditional. Here's where oops, failed to load content. Well, that's interesting. Here's where I start to say, this speaks to me. I really, really like this style. Ceiling, maybe a lot of detail, but I love these light floors. I love the wainscoting. This to me, very, very much in line with my style. Now, famously, I thought I knew what my style was. I've told you guys many times that I always wanted a red brick home. I bought a sand brick. Sand, it's not yellow, but it's kind of like beigey. I wanted a wood paneled office. Oops, failed to load content. Sorry guys, that's MLS's fault. I wanted a wood paneled office at the front of my home. And instead of that really cool wood where you feel like a guy's gonna open up a globe and there's scotch in it, I ended up with something super, super modern. So my style was kind of delivered to me. And here I would say, yeah, I definitely like this. But a style can change, obviously, and when you're offered something like this, a $5 million house, you might come in here and be like, oh yeah, no, I thought I knew what my style was, this is more in line. So, beautiful house. I love the exterior. I love even something as simple as we've painted these boards white and we've painted these pillars and these beams going across black. I just love that contrast there. You got a nice little splash pad. What's happening here? I don't think that's to park a car. That could be a guest house or something. Look in there. I hope they show us what that is. Ready for this? You ready for this? Hello, guest house. Is that awesome? That's amazing. So when you see the +1 on the listing, and I'll go back to it, that's what this is. This is a guest house. So you've got your garage, sure, but it's a guest house. Yeah, it's a gym. It's got a punching bag. Oh yeah. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Isn't that just crazy, right? So now we're upstairs. That was a primary bedroom. You've got a deck off the back. You know what? They've done everything. Can I blame them for not having hired a guy on Jiffy to pressure wash that? Absolutely beautiful house. Just phenomenal in every way. Damn thing's got a guest house, darn thing. Master closet, love that. Really speaks to me. Really, really does. This is my style. Until someone offers me something different and I like it. But 50 photos. David, slow down. Okay, kid's bedroom. Keep going. And this is the difference to me. This is the basement. So in the first two houses, which were original footprints, you did not have this level of ceiling height. And they clearly didn't stage the basement. They're like, okay, well, that's all we can do with it. Sure, you've got to live in it. But there's a huge difference to me between an original 7-foot ceiling and a 9-foot ceiling in a new build. But of course, this is a $5 million house. And the one I just showed you was 4.5. So back outside, you simply can't get enough photos of the outside, nighttime photos with a guest house. Look at that. Oh, this is so amazing. This is such an amazing house. Wow, absolutely beautiful. I feel like I should clap or something. 105 the Kingsway. So again, the front of the house, you might call it a little bit boring, but damn if that wasn't a sexy house on the inside. So that is the first listing for this house. And I think that one will probably move. So let's go further north. We'll continue. And here is 149 the Kingsway. Now, this one built in 2011. This is an interesting one. Only a 40-foot lot. It's 2-story. It's a 4-bed +1 6-bath. It's 122 deep. So it doesn't feel like a huge lot. And it also, when we get to the front of the house, from here, this looks like an original footprint, but MPAC says built in 2011. Let's have a look. Was this built new? Was this built to look like it fits into the area? Or was this using perhaps some of the original structure? I think once you get on the inside, you can see it's a very unique house. The color of this wood, the type of brick here, this is unique. This was clearly a custom build for end users because it doesn't really feel like the last house, which was super traditional, or the first two houses, which were well, basically renovated version of original houses. So this is the kind of house I think is a bit tougher to sell because it is so particular on the inside. All of the different features and finishes, like for example, tile throughout the whole floor. That's something a lot of people don't like. They're used to hardwood. And then on the inside, just everything so different, from your ridiculous monster fridge to your blue chairs that swivel, it looks like desk chairs, and this level of wood here, kind of Scandinavian in feel, if you will. So very different. And again, different is good if you're the end user and you built for yourself and your family. Different, that looks like a urinal. Different, maybe not necessarily if you're building for selling. And I don't think these guys built to sell. I think they built for themselves. Very, very unique. See, I need a thesaurus. I need some synonyms for unique. This is unique. This is different. This is individualistic. I feel like I'm doing a mental crossword. But it's not my style. And again, for a lot of people that are like, damn, I rent a basement apartment and you're trashing a $4 million house. No, I'm not trashing it. I'm saying that we all have our preferred styles. For example, I like violins next to babies in stroller for staging purposes. No, I would say that again, with the tile in the basement, we all have our own styles. And while I did mention sarcastically, but I was being honest, I thought I knew what my style was until I went into my current house for the first time and I said, you know what, I absolutely love this. There were some things I didn't love, but they've grown on me. So outside, you know, tile on the inside. Okay, now you've got flagstone everywhere. So you can start to see, yeah, this house, oh, there's a bit of grass. This house built new from the ground up. This was, what did I say, 2018? 2011, 2018? Can't remember the address of this one. So not for me, but definitely for somebody. And there she is. Okay, 149 the Kingsway, 2011. So the last house is the 2018 built one, and we'll get to that. And so far, if you're like me, this one here, 105 the Kingsway, your favorite. Now, of course, it is the most expensive, but definitely the nicest. So 175 the Kingsway. So now you're up towards Dundas. There's got to be a bit of a discount because you're so far from Bloor. People like to be able to walk down to Bloor. That's where all your amenities are. That's where your infrastructure, your retail, your coffee shops, etc. But when you are further north, you're closer to the school. So there's that. So 175 the Kingsway, we're back now to a 50-foot lot. It's only 103 deep. This is a 4-bed plus 1 5-bath, listed for 3.6. And I believe this one, if I'm not mistaken, 175 the Kingsway, has been listed a couple of times. So let me just go to the table view here, which is much easier to see. And they came out at 3868. And then they raised it. Okay, that was interesting, right? They probably had an offer date. And then again, they tried it. Well, 3 days later, that's interesting, 3668, 3638. Put it up for lease for 10 grand, and okay, now here they are 2 years later, 3595. So, very pretty house, 50-foot lot, right? Might be a bit shallow with the 103 feet, but this, an original build, so this was, no, what did I say? Oh, sorry, this was 2018 build. It's kind of tricky here because some of these look like original houses and they've just stuck it over top of the brick. When we get to the inside, I would say this one is somewhat different. Not as different as the last one, different, unique, individualistic, but from a layout perspective, it certainly is. And then you start to see whether it's the plants, whether it's the open concept shelving, whether it's the completely open concept main floor. Yeah, okay, this is pretty different. So you can see from the inside, sure, absolutely, this is not an original 1936 build, but so unique. You might look at this and say, kitchen's not for me. It was for whoever put it in, obviously. And I would say that if you were going for a neutral style that everyone's gonna like, it's that $5 million house. So once we get into the inside, this is the primary bedroom. Okay, you've got this massive headboard here. You've got a feature wall in color. You've got a couch. What even is this? I thought that for a minute was a gas stove. That's ridiculous. It looks like maybe my eyes are failing me. This is a book on top of, well, an identical shelf, but there's a lot happening. So on the one hand, the optimistic side, hey, this is a massive master bedroom. On the other side, it's very particular and there's a lot happening. Now, it almost behooves me to get Lucy in here, my stager, and talk about why when we stage we make things so boring, so plain. It's not that they're boring and plain, it's just that if you look at this photo here, this is really, really busy. Nothing wrong with it. If you live in a 3-bed, 2-bath semi and this is a $4 million house, I'm just saying that very, very particular and very different styles. And to be honest, I don't even know what this room is. This is not the office, or is it? No, it's not. You're getting lost in this. I'm lost in the flow. I'm lost with the feature walls. I'm lost with all the unique artwork and carpets. The photos are kind of out of order. So, beautiful house, right? You get down to the basement, again, you can start to see really busy, really different. Now, you're only selling to one buyer. So you might say, the fact that my house is really different, really unique, I'm going to attract that one buyer. Only one, because they're going to absolutely love everything. And if I turn off a lot of buyers that want what David likes, which is boring and traditional, well, so be it. I'm only selling it to one person. So to each their own, and it plays into the strategy. But again, I would look at this photo and I would say, this is really busy. There's a lot happening here. One of the things we don't do in staging is little photographs because they look like polka dots. They are distracting to the eye. The open concept floating shelves. There's just so much happening. Feature walls, tons of color. So it works for these folks. Beautiful house. There you go. It's only a 103-foot lot. Yeah. All right. And there you go. Okay. So what do we think? 175 the Kingsway, 3.6 million. Been listed a few times. Very, very particular. And by particular, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, let's just look at this one. You tell me. You tell me, David, you have very plain, boring tastes because those houses were really neat and you like this. This is boring. This is so beautiful. This is awesome. This is so, it's just white. It's boring. It's white. It's white. It's white everywhere. No, look, you have some chairs. They have some patterns. Look, blue, 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 and blue. Okay, maybe it is boring. I don't know, but that to me is classic. And so things like this, right? They've got the black hardware here, and you'll have black hinges throughout. I mentioned when we looked at this, I didn't love that ceiling. But this to me, this is so inviting. It's just so clean, it's so neutral. And to some people, they might say, yeah, it's so boring. Give me one of the two very unique houses. So that's it, guys. Yeah, I had to get you through 200 photos in 24 or less minutes. But 5 houses for sale on one street. On the Kingsway, within the Kingsway. I don't think there's a reason that there are 5 houses for sale. I would say it's more coincidence than anything. And also, well, it's a very, very long and winding street. The one caveat, perhaps, the Kingsway is a busy street. As much as I took you on a tour of it and said it is so beautiful, tree canopied, wide boulevards, massive setbacks, it is very busy. Some people will say, I don't want to live in the Kingsway. I think for the rest of us, I wouldn't say it's beggars can't be choosers. I would say that it's all about compromises in real estate and that yes, it is definitely a busy street from a car standpoint, but when your front door is set back 80 feet, of which the city owns most of that land, and you've still got a 130-foot lot, that's a compromise that I would make. Anyways, guys, that is it for me for this week. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching as always. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.